Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today we are making a paper bag mini album using a different kind of paper bag. And these are some I picked up at Walmart, and I think they are adorable. Let me show you. See this wood grain in there? I love that. I know there's a glare, but it's easier to show them you this way than pulling them out. But these are a wedding collection made by Gartner Studios, and I found them in Walmart. There's 24 bags in here. They're favor bags is what they are, but they're adorable. This one's wood grain. This one is polka dot, and it's a gold polka dot, but it's not like a gold foil. It's kind of a muted gold, and I had an idea about these guys. Here they are out of the container. They're very thin, and they're very flat. And so we don't have to do any work to the bags. This is what I like about it. I'm thinking this would make a cute wedding gift. So I want to show you what I'm thinking. All right. You know how when we make paper bags and we just seal them together on the end, then our pages are just really close together and we can't get a lot of embellishment in between? Here's what I'm thinking. I use matte board all the time for my mini albums. So this is some of my matte board, which is about, I want to say a 1/16. It's almost an 1/8 of an inch thick. It's a little over a 1/16 of an inch thick. And what I want to do is I'm going to sandwich these between each page, almost like a spacer between each page. And I'll show you how we're going to get all that done. The first thing I want to do is poke some holes, because very much like the album I did that had the little 2 holes here and we tied a bow through them, I'm kind of going to do that here too. So I want to go ahead and get my holes established. Now these bags, and line them up good, I think they're right at 5 inches. They are right at 5 inches. So the middle is 2.5. I think I'm going to do a hole at 1.5 inches and 3.5 inches. I think that's a good spot. So I'm going to mark those with a pencil real quick. So 1.5 is here, and 3.5 is here. Now you're not going to see, when we finish, you're not going to see anything that we're doing past this point of the bag, where this little kind of hinge is or whatever. You're not going to see anything past there. So these pencil marks, don't worry about them. Not even going to see them. Now I'm going to take my crocodile, the big dude, which I already pulled out and I lost it after I pulled it out. That's just how I roll. Okay, and now I'm going to decide where I want this hole to be. And I'm thinking midway of that. And I don't know if you know, but on the side of your crocodile, there's a little like dial where you can set the hole. I'm going to set this hole, and I'm going to set it at about 1/2 inch and see if that's right. I want to see if that works. And I'm using the 3/16 hole, the larger hole. So let me just push that bag in there. That feels good. I'm going to go ahead and punch that one. So there's my first hole. And now I'm going to line this one up in here, and I'm going to punch it. The cool thing about having that spacer is you know you're going to get them lined up to the same spot. Now all I'm going to do is punch all of them, and I think I can do them all at one time because they're not extremely thick. That's pushing it. Let's do a couple. Let's just split them. Now if you pull out your big bite, your crocodile, your big one, you can do it with that in one fell swoop. Alright, I'm going to line that up and poke the hole right over my last hole. Do the same at the bottom here. Kind of lose it once I get in there. I got to be careful. Okay, and now I'm going to do the others. Now for this album, this part is going to just be decorative. It's just to put some pretty ribbon through there, because we're really going to adhere it with glue. You'll see what I'm talking about. There's that hole. Let's get this one done. Okay. Now, I want this project to be super simple as well. I'm not looking for difficult. I'm looking for easy. So that's why I'm going to hopefully be able to accomplish that with this. All right, so now I'm going to take that bag. And by the way, I cut this piece the same length, the exact same length as the bag, okay, and the same width as this little folded piece that becomes the bottom of our bag. So mine ended up being 1 inch. So adjust that to whatever bag you're using. So mine are 5 inches by 1 inch. All right, so now I want to poke a hole in this one to be my template for the rest of them. I'm just going to put that piece of matte board underneath and line it up nice and square to the end. And then poke a hole through it. That's what I love about these crocodiles. They'll poke a hole in anything. You can even use them in metal. I haven't yet, but you can. Alright, let's do this one. Alright, so now I have a guide for the rest of my chipboard. So I'm just going to lay chipboard on top and just go through and poke these holes. And you want these holes poked in every one of them so you can put your ribbon through it. Have you guys noticed I'm all about easy? I love hinged mini albums and things like that, but I love when I can do them this easy. All right, here's the next thing you're going to do. You're not going to put a cover on the top just yet. I do have one we're going to use. It's a black one, and that's what I'm going to use because it matches my, my bag. So that'll go there eventually, but not yet. What we're going to do is not put a chipboard piece on the top, but go underneath. Okay. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Take my glue. I've said here's what we're going to do about 12 times. I'm going to take the glue, and I'm going to really cover this hinge. Use whatever wet glue you like. For this, you could even use sticky tape, but for me, this art glitter glue works just as good as anything else, and I really want a lot of glue. And now I'm going to lay this bag right on that chipboard piece, lining those holes up, and gluing it down nice and like firm, like the whole piece is getting glued down. Okay, so there is that. Now I'm going to put glue on the back side of this piece. The same way I did. I want a lot of glue, or at least a good coverage. This doesn't, you don't have to have a lot of this glue. I just want everything covered. And then I'm going to take another bag, making sure that I'm laying it in the same direction as the one here. And I'm going to line it up on there, lining my holes up, lining the bag up, the whole thing. As neat and as even as you can. Starting to make sense? All right, back to a hinge. This is not a hinge, back to a spacer. Let's call it a spacer. Some glue. Just like so. And then put it back onto the last bag. Those holes didn't quite line up, but that's okay. I can always go in and re-poke holes if I need to. All right, another bag, laying it in the same way. So you can see I've got this seam there. I want to make sure I lay everything the same. Let's put some more glue down. So you can see the glue is really what's going to hold it together, but the ribbon will be pretty, and I wanted to go ahead and do that before I got too far ahead of the game. This is my last bag to stick on. One thing I've noticed as I'm going along, I want to point out to you, is you need to make sure you're keeping everything in line. If you're not careful, you can kind of tilt forward as you go, just because that's our habit to do that. So make sure you're getting everything lined up nice and neat on these edges, so you don't end up with a tilted forward book. All right, check this out. See this? Now I want to show you something. Look how easy these pages now open because of that piece in the middle. We can get this totally flat book, and I love the spaces. Can you see the room in between? Also, notice how we're not so flat here. We're more flat here, which is good. When we start adding tags and things inside of these and little dimensional pieces, we're going to have room. All right, let's do these first two pieces. Now these pieces I want to go ahead and put here, but I want to have those same holes in them that I did in the others. I probably should have just measured those before, but I didn't, so I'll just do it now. I'm going to flip this guy over and measure this. And it was at 1.5 inches and 3.5 inches. So let's go 1.5 inches here, 3.5 inches here. And then I can just use my crocodile again. All right, so can you see how our book's coming along? We have our spine here. Now, I didn't put like an additional cover. You could, but I want this bag to be my cover. Now, you see me do this before where the bag is the cover. I like that idea. The big thing for this one is the spacers. That's what I wanted to try, and I can't tell you how good that feels. It's nice and sturdy, and look how these pages, all of them will open flat. I love that part of it. Now let's go ahead and make some tags to go into our pockets. Now you can decide this too. I like the look that I have here of the page and then the end of the bag being here and then the inside here. I'm thinking I may even let my tag fall kind of in between there, but I'm not sure. I may do a decorative edge tag and let it hang out. So let me do some playing and we'll see what we do. So for the inserts, what I've done is I've taken some black paper and I've cut it down to where it'll just slide right inside. And I'm going to let it just kind of sit right here in this area because This is going to clear this edge. I want it to be able to still open and close like this. And as it's used, it's going to create kind of a barrier for it, so it'll kind of keep it there. And then I'm just going to have this loose so where I can pull it out. I'm not even going to put a pull tab or anything on it because I really like all these edges here. So I just cut this to the length to be halfway in between whatever your bag is, and then to where it'll fit right inside. And I did a bunch of them. And by the way, I used a border punch on the edge that is the postage stamp border punch, and it's by Fiskars. Oh no, this one's by EK Success. That's who makes this one. So that's what I'm going to put into my pockets. So they're just going to slide right in. And these bags are very, like, flimsy. I'm going to say that because they're treat bags. But as we add stuff to them, they'll get more sturdy and more sturdy. They're just really kind of the carrier for all of our pretty things we're going to put in there. So see how those are going to lay? I really like that. So I'm just going to load it up. So now you can see we've got all of those little matte pieces in there for photographs all inside, and I love the way that looks. So now it's time to do some decorating. Sorry for that glare, doing a lot of metallic stuff lately. Look at this paper pad I found at Michael's. It was on the hot buy, but I gotta be honest, they didn't charge me $5 for this. I got charged $19 and I didn't pay any attention, and I should have taken it back, but I love it so much and I live so dang far away that I just kept it. So for $19, here's what I got. And it's by Craftsmith, and it's probably gonna have a glare on most of the pages, but this paper is so pretty, and it reminds me of very bridal. The golds and the pretty little things like that remind me of me. Look at this. Oh, that's extremely bridal, isn't it? But we're going to use this as the main focus in this little mini album we're making. And the first thing I'm going to do, see this little heart? I'm going to take that out. Let me find it. I have a stamp set. I have two stamp sets we're going to be focusing on today. This one, which is called Oh Snap Friends, and this one, which is Oh Snap. I'm going to use this to really build this album up because this is all about pictures and being happy together and things like that. The little camera, the little bliss, lots of things. So I'm going to start with this Polaroid picture frame first. So I've got that on my block, and I also am going to use some Stays On ink. Because this is some foil as well as a slick paper, I'm going to use Stays On with this stamp to make it stay, because stays on, right? So, okay, corny, I know. Now I'm going to ink this up. Now my stamp pad, oh, it is so dry, and I've inked it so many times, but it's just so old. So I've inked that up, and now I'm just going to come up in this top corner and stamp this little photo frame here. When you have a big block and a big stamp, make sure you get in the middle and put some pressure there. And then see how we have that little Polaroid frame on there? Now I'll show you what I'm going to do. I cut this down to be a little easier so you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in and cut right beside where we stamped. And this way, I can have a perfect little Polaroid frame that is done in the foil for the little album. Now this is the part for me that's a little time consuming, but I love to fussy cut. I love to use these tiny scissors, and I love to just sit here and cut. So what I'm going to probably do is cut 16 or so of these little frames, and maybe even use different papers. And the only thing you really need to be sure of with your paper is that you use something with a small enough pattern that you can see it in your photo frame area there. Now this little section, I'm just going to leave that in there, and I'll show you why. So I cut out a whole bunch of these little guys with the Polaroid stamp, and you can hardly see the stamp in the camera, but it's on there. And then I cut up this little white piece that's going to fit right inside here. And I'm going to use my stamp set that's called Action. This is the one with all the action words on it. By the way, any of the stamp sets in this video, I'll have a link to them below, at least the ones that are mine. If they're not my stamps, I'll let you know where how I got them. This one has the Place Photo Here stamp, and I want to use that. So here's what I've done. I've put it onto my block. And actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to glue this down first. I'm going to glue this little piece down. Now, you can cut the hole out of your Polaroid frame in the middle if you want to. I just didn't see a need for that. I think this is faster to just cut these little pieces and just put them in the middle. And the other thing it does is it makes your frame a little more sturdy. So I've glued that little white piece down, and then I'm going to ink up my Place Photo Here stamp and sit that there. And so see how cute that is? So now when someone gets this, they'll know exactly where to put a photo. And let me show you what I did. I did a bunch of them. While I was doing it, I just did a whole bunch of them. So those are going to go into our album, but I'm going to sit those aside for a second and show you something else I have done. My camera battery died, so while it was charging, I went ahead and started doing some of this. This is also a stamp set, and this one was sent to me by a subscriber. This is a Prima set, and it is called, let's see if it has a name, I don't see a name for it. But it's basically like a nesting stamp. Each one of these is a separate stamp, and you get this from it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these out and use these. They look like little stitched on labels. That's what that's, it mimics kind of thread. And I'm just going to kind of cut loosely around them like this. And it'll almost be like they're stitched down to the page when we put them down. I looked at doing this with a different color paper, but for some reason, like white, didn't work the same. But this color, which is not really gold, but it's sort of gold, kind of works. So you see how that kind of works with those polka dots? It's just kind of more the right color. So like, see how that'll look like it's kind of stitched down to the page? That's kind of cute. And then I'm going to cut the rest of these out, and we're going to use them inside the album. So now you see I have a lot of these little journaling pieces cut out, so we can add those throughout the album. And we're going to do a little more cutting out before we assemble. This one is a lot of cutting out. Remember the paper pad? This is in the paper pad, and these are so cute. Now, not all of these are going to work for our album because we're doing like a wedding themed album, but a lot of these are. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut these all out, just get them all separated from each other so I can use the ones I want. And the ones that I don't use, I'll just stick back into the paper pad so I'll have them for another time. So now we can sort of start assembling. Now my plan is to actually stick these photo frames. Look how easy that opens. I love it. These right down to the page, kind of willy-nilly, kind of to the side. And then maybe use these pieces on this side or that side or wherever. But do everything very black and gold and white. The only thing I want to do before I start putting everything down is I want to mat all of my pieces in a thin piece of black so that it'll kind of be outlined in black. So I will cut the pieces to fit this and then mat it on there. And I'm going to do the same with the ones I'm going to use out of here so that wherever I put them, they'll really pop. That little bit of black will make a big difference. Let me show you what I mean. So I put a piece of white paper down for you guys to be able to see this better. This is a little piece of black paper that I cut to be 1/8 of an inch bigger than my frame all the way around. And this is going to help the frame really pop off of that white bag. So all I'm going to do is glue this guy down. Again, I like to use mats like this because it makes the elements feel rich and thick. The thicker they feel, the more expensive the book feels. You know, when you have a heavier finished project, that's what I like. So I'm going to put this guy down here, and I'm going to do that to every one of those little photo frames. And also, on the pieces that I cut out from the paper pad, I'm doing the same thing. So I've cut a piece that is, this one is 1/4 of an inch larger, so I have 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So a little bit more here, and I'm just going to glue these down. And I just picked out the ones that kind of went with my theme, with the wedding theme. And so that is what I'm going to do with these guys. So I'm going to do that to all of these and to all of these. So I have all of these left to do, but I'll do that off camera. Now when we get back together tomorrow, because I'm going to stop today's video here because it's getting kind of long, we'll put all of these pieces in, and we're going to build something for the front that I think will be super cute, add our ribbon and a few embellishments, and we have a mini album ready to give. Alright guys, so join me tomorrow for the second part of this. It's only going to be a 2-part video because I think we can finish it that quick, and I hope you guys have a great night. See you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye-bye.